There is an animal alive right now that has survived all 5 mass extinctions in Earth's history. It has survived being frozen to 1 degree above absolute zero. It has survived temperatures hot enough to cook most life on Earth. It has survived being shot into the vacuum of outer space with no protection and left there for 10 days. It has survived radiation doses 1,000 times greater than the amount that would kill a human being. And it is smaller than the period at the end of this sentence. This is not science fiction. This animal is real, and what scientists found inside it has opened 2 of the most important frontiers in modern medicine. This is the tardigrade, and what it can do should not be possible. Now, before you think this is another video about a weird microscopic creature, stop, because this is actually a video about physics and about a protein so precisely designed that when scientists copied it into human cells in a laboratory, those human cells became measurably resistant to radiation damage. We are going to cover 3 things today. First, what the tardigrade does to survive conditions that would destroy every other animal on Earth. Second, what scientists discovered inside its cells when they looked at how it handles radiation and why the answer broke everything they thought they knew. And third, what this means for astronauts heading to Mars and for cancer patients in radiotherapy right now. By the end of this video, you will know about a protein designed into this microscopic creature that, when placed inside human cells, shields human DNA from radiation damage, and that changes everything. The tardigrade is a microscopic 8-legged animal found on every continent, in every ocean, on the peaks of the Himalayas, in the hot springs of Iceland, in the Antarctic ice. There are roughly 1,500 known species. The largest grows to about 1.5 millimeters. Most are smaller than the tip of a ballpoint pen. Under a microscope, it looks almost cartoonish, a plump barrel-shaped body with 8 stubby legs tipped with tiny claws. Scientists nicknamed it the water bear. Some call it the moss piglet. Do not let that fool you. This animal is running a level of biological engineering that human science is still reverse engineering, decades after we first discovered it. Here is what makes the tardigrade unlike anything else on Earth. When conditions become lethal, when the water dries up, when the temperature plunges or spikes beyond survival limits, when radiation begins to saturate its environment, the tardigrade does not fight it. It does not flee. It performs one of the most extraordinary physical transformations in the known natural world. It pulls all 8 legs inside its body. It expels almost all the water from its cells, dropping its internal water content from around 85% down to under 3%. Then it restructures its entire internal biochemistry into a glassy, inert, solid state. Scientists call this cryptobiosis, from the Greek for hidden life. Now here is where the physics becomes extraordinary. Every living system on Earth requires a continuous flow of energy to resist entropy, the natural tendency of complex structures to break down and disorder. Your body right now is burning energy every second just to maintain the organized architecture of your cells. Stop that energy flow, and the system collapses. The tardigrade bypasses this entirely. It does not fight entropy. It stops participating in thermodynamics altogether. In cryptobiosis, it has no measurable metabolism. It produces no energy. It generates no heat. By every physical definition, it is indistinguishable from a non-living object. And yet the entire molecular machinery inside it remains intact, perfectly preserved, suspended in time, waiting for conditions to improve. When water returns, it rehydrates and resumes normal life within hours. In the cryptobiotic state, the tardigrade has been experimentally confirmed to survive temperatures of minus 272 degrees Celsius, 1 degree above absolute zero, the coldest temperature physically possible. It has survived plus 150 degrees Celsius. It has survived pressures of 6,000 atmospheres, 6 times greater than the deepest point of the ocean. And in September 2007, dehydrated tardigrades were loaded onto the European Space Agency's Photon M3 mission and exposed to the vacuum of space and direct solar UV radiation for 10 full days at 260 kilometers above Earth. Some specimens survived, some even reproduced after returning. No other multicellular animal has done this, but surviving space is not even the most extraordinary thing this creature does. Because when scientists looked at how it handles radiation, they found something inside it that nobody predicted, and it rewrote what we thought was possible in biology. To understand what the tardigrade does, you first need to understand what ionizing radiation actually does to living things, because most people have a vague idea, and the reality is far more precise. Ionizing radiation, the kind produced by nuclear reactors, X-ray machines, cosmic rays from deep space, works by stripping electrons from atoms as it passes through tissue. This creates highly reactive particles called free radicals. Think of a free radical as a molecular wrecking ball, an unstable particle that violently attacks the nearest chemical structure it finds. And in a living cell, the nearest structure is almost always DNA. The most catastrophic event that can happen to a cell is what scientists call a double-strand break, where both strands of the DNA double helix are severed simultaneously at the same location. A single double-strand break can trigger cell death, enough of them in a short time period, and the organism dies. The lethal radiation dose for a human being is around 500 rads. The tardigrade survives up to 5,000 rads of gamma radiation without dying. That is 10 times the human lethal dose. For decades, the scientific assumption was straightforward. The tardigrade must be blocking this damage somehow. Its cryptobiotic state, that glassy inert solid, must be physically shielding the DNA from radiation. The water is gone, the chemistry is frozen, nothing is getting through. Then in 2016, researchers at the University of Tokyo sequenced the full genome of the tardigrade species Ramazotius virionatus, and buried inside that genome, they found something that had never been seen in any other animal, a gene encoding a protein with no known equivalent anywhere in the biological record. They named it DSUP, damage suppressor. When they put Ds up into human cells in a laboratory and then irradiated those cells with X-rays, the Ds up expressing cells showed approximately 40% less DNA damage than normal human cells under the same conditions. A protein from a microscopic creature the size of a grain of sand was protecting human DNA from radiation. The mechanism, confirmed in a 2019 study by researchers at UC San Diego, is remarkable. DSUP wraps around the nucleosome, the protein structure that DNA coils around inside the cell, and forms a physical protective cloud that absorbs and deflects hydroxyl radicals before they can strike the DNA strand. But then in October 2024, a team of researchers in China published a paper in Science that complicated the picture further, and in doing so, made the tardigrade even more extraordinary. They had discovered a new species, Hypsibius hinanensis, in moss samples collected from a mountain in Henan province. When they sequenced its genome and exposed it to heavy ion radiation, they found something unexpected. The tardigrade accumulates the same amount of DNA damage as human cells do. The Ds up shield does not prevent the damage entirely. The DNA still gets hit, it still breaks. What makes the tardigrade extraordinary is not that it avoids the damage, it is what happens after. The team identified 3 separate molecular mechanisms that activate in sequence following radiation exposure. First, a gene borrowed from bacteria produces pigments called betalains, powerful antioxidants that neutralize free radicals before they can reach the DNA. Second, a tardigrade-specific protein called TRID. One activates and physically facilitates DNA repair through a process of molecular reorganization. Third, 2801DN. A repair genes simultaneously upregulate. The tardigrade's entire repair toolkit fires at once, at a scale human cells cannot approach. The tardigrade does not have an impenetrable shield. It has the most sophisticated damage control and repair system ever found in an animal. And that still does not prepare you for what comes next. Here is the moment the science stopped being about tardigrades and started being about us. When the University of Tokyo team expressed the D-sup gene inside cultured human cells, not tardigrade cells, human cells, and then irradiated them with X-rays, those cells survived significantly better than normal human cells under the same conditions. They showed roughly 40% less DNA damage. They retained their ability to replicate. They did not die at the rate that unprotected cells did. A protein built into a microscopic animal that lives on moss works inside a human cell. The molecular machinery of one of the most radiation-hardened organisms ever studied is compatible with human cellular biology, and it measurably protects human DNA. The first major implication is for space exploration. Beyond low Earth orbit, beyond the protective bubble of Earth's magnetic field, astronauts face continuous exposure to galactic cosmic rays. These are high-energy particles streaming through the solar system from distant stars and supernova. They pass straight through spacecraft walls and straight through human tissue, and they cause exactly the kind of ionizing radiation damage we just described. A 6-month journey to Mars would expose astronauts to radiation doses that significantly exceed current safety limits. A return journey doubles that. The current approach is engineering, heavier shielding, more material between the astronaut and space, but mass is the most expensive thing to launch into orbit. Every kilogram costs tens of thousands of dollars. ZP-based protection offers a different model entirely. Instead of building the shield around the astronaut, you build the shield inside the astronaut's own cells. Biological radiation protection, derived from the most radiation-hardened animal on Earth, carried in the cells themselves. The second implication hits closer to home. Radiation therapy is one of the primary treatments for cancer. It works by directing concentrated ionizing radiation at a tumor to destroy the cancer cells. The problem is collateral damage. Healthy tissue surrounding the tumor absorbs radiation too. This limits the dose oncologists can safely deliver, because increasing the dose to more effectively kill the cancer also increases the damage to the patient's healthy tissue. A D-sup-based protective mechanism applied selectively to healthy cells surrounding a tumor could, in principle, allow doctors to increase radiation doses to the tumor without proportionally increasing the damage to the patient. More effective treatment, less harm. The tardigrade's protection, working in human medicine. So here is what we now know. Inside a creature invisible to the naked eye, something that lives on the surface of moss and in the cracks of rock, there is molecular machinery, so precisely and extraordinarily designed that it has no equivalent anywhere else in the known biological world. A protein that wraps around DNA and forms a protective shield against one of the most destructive forces in physics. A repair system that fires 2,800 genes simultaneously after catastrophic damage. A state of suspended existence so complete that it defies the basic thermodynamic rules everything else on Earth has to obey. And when scientists took one piece of that system, just one protein, and placed it inside human cells, it worked. It protected the DNA. It reduced the damage by 40%. The tardigrade has been on Earth for an estimated 530 million years. It has survived every catastrophe that has ever reset life on this planet. 5 mass extinctions, asteroid impacts, ice ages, supernova radiation events that sterilized vast regions of space. It did all of that at a size smaller than the point of a needle, and it is still here, teaching us things we did not know were possible. If that changed how you see the world even slightly, subscribe. We find the science that most people never hear about, and we put it somewhere you can actually understand it. New video every week. Hit the bell so you do not miss it.